Hello everyone, I'm Luv here, back again with another Awaken Chaos Era video. So in today's video, I'll be creating a guide on the newly introduced epic hero in the game, and the hero is Timmons. So currently you can get Timmons from this advanced summoning crystal, or you can also get him from this limited summon banner. And if you're using this Stardust currency, you'll be able to summon a bunch of them, because it'll be much more easier to get this epic hero, as it's only limited to these 6 epic heroes in the game, with the Pina, Rozak, Trista, Hassel, Carl, and then Timmons. So it'll be easier for you to get multiple copies of him up to the 5 Ascension to unlock his trait. So basically this video will go over his character design, character animation, his overall stats, what stats to prioritize on him, and then going through his skills and abilities to identify where we can use him, and based from the information we'll then be able to identify what are the best recommended gears for him to unlock his fullest potential. And then I'll be showcasing Timmons in those areas in the game, and then we'll do a summary on his use case. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. So this is my Timmons. Currently he does not have any character animation, so let's quickly go through his character design. Basically he's geared or equipped in this ancient armor suit that allows him to deep dive into the sea. As you can see, he has some sort of like barnacles growing on his armor, and he also has these 2 oxygen tanks that is glowing orange behind him. And finally he has this anchor that he's wielding with his right hand. Maybe it's taken from the ship under the sea. And yeah, so basically he looks very tanky with this sea suit. Then let's move on to his stats. So currently he has an A rating for attack, A rating for critical rate, B rating for health and speed, and finally C rating for defense. So basically he's some sort of a damage dealer, but a squishy one. And let's move on to his abilities to further understand on what he does. Alright, so this is his unique trait known as the Gallant Assault. When an ally attacks an elite or boss and there are more than 3 enemies alive, Timmons launches a bonus attack with the ultimate ability, and upon ascending him to the 5th Ascension, he'll be able to deal 30% more damage to enemies who are at an elemental disadvantage, which refers to fire affinities, especially in the Ash Magisteria where the boss will summon 5 or 7 fire imps around him. So this makes him a great asset if you do not have any strong heroes to wipe out the fire imps around the boss. And let's move on to his basic ability, which is the Anchor Sweep. Deals 100% damage to one enemy and gains attack up for 1 turn. And this skill works something similar to Zachary, where whenever he performs a basic attack, he will also gain this attack up buff 30% attack, which allows him to deal more damage to the opponent. Next will be his special ability known as the Rotating Rust that has a 3-turn skill cooldown. Deals 180% damage to an enemy and applies attack down and defense down for 2 turns. This one allows you to reduce the enemy's damage output, so your heroes will be able to receive less damage from the enemy, and also dealing massive amount of damage to them, because we are able to lower the enemy's defense with this special ability. And then for his ultimate ability known as the Marin Fury that has a 3-turn skill cooldown, deals 100% damage to all enemies. Damage is reduced by 30% per additional cards within the same round, capped at 3 stacks. So basically what this means is every stack will reduce the damage output for this ultimate ability by 30% and up to 90%. So once he casts around about 3 times, right, the total damage that this ultimate ability can do is only 10%. Which is very little. And apart from that, this ultimate ability is a 3-turn skill cooldown, which synchronizes with the Ash Magisteria skill that summons the fire imp, because the Ash Magisteria boss, right, will always summon the fire imps around him after 3 rounds. Alright, so based from his skill kit, you know that this epic hero Timmons is built mainly for speed farming the Ash Magisteria, and he's a good alternative if you do not have any other water damage dealer hero in your account, such as like Pluto, Natalia, Idrisia, or those heroes that is able to do AoE attack that allows you to wipe out the fire imps around the boss. So if you do not have these heroes, then you can build Timmons to allow you to speed farm those areas in the game. Alright, so this is my overall stats for Timmons, which I built him as a damage dealer as well as a debuffer. I prioritize on the critical rate, so he'll be able to deal massive amount of critical damage to the enemies, and then prioritize on the attack stats and critical damage, and followed by speed to speed tune him so that he can go before the enemies to perform his ultimate ability as well as other abilities he has. Then I also prioritize on some focus on him so that he's able to inflict the debuff like the attack down as well as the defense down on the enemies, preventing them from resisting it. Ideally, this focus stat should be higher, especially for the higher level dungeons. We are now in Timmons' equipment page, and let's quickly go through the gear bonuses. And currently I'm gearing him in 2 sets. One is the Every set and the other one is the Raider set. Every set is a 4-piece set that grants this character 50% bonus damage when attacking over the area. However, this one can only be triggered once every 1 round. Although Timmons is able to spam his ultimate ability multiple times, only the first AoE attack, right, will only be able to benefit from this 50% bonus damage. The subsequent ultimate abilities that was triggered through his allies attack will not benefit from this 50% bonus damage. And then for the Raider set, you can replace this with a Warrior set in case you are able to ascend him until he's able to get the 15 speed from the Ascension. And let's quickly go through the equipment stats, starting off with the weapon. Alright, so this is the weapon. It has some speed, attack, critical damage, and defense percentage. Ideally, the defense percentage should be health percentage because squishy damage dealers does not have much defense stats that he can boost up. So ideally, this one should be health percentage to boost up his survivability. Next will be his helmet that has some attack, critical rate, and critical damage. Next will be his armor that has some attack, critical damage, and flash stats attack. This one is an attack boots that has some health percentage, critical damage, critical rate, and focus. Ideally, this one should have some speed stats so that he can go first in the battle to apply his ultimate ability. Then he also has this critical rate ring which you can replace with a critical damage ring once you have obtained sufficient critical rate from his masteries or obtain them from the equipment substats. And this critical rate ring has some precision which is not so useful because it's not used in arena. It has some critical damage, attack percentage, as well as speed. Ideally, this precision should be focus percentage so that he can land his debuff. And finally, this is his attack necklace that has some focus, speed, critical rate, and defense. Ideally, this one defense should be critical damage so that he can deal more damage to the enemies. His glyphs are fully maxed out, same goes with his abilities. So this is Timmons' mastery, and currently I've invested one epic mastery book in him to improve his critical damage by 20%. And if you have additional epic books, then you can use it to max out his gears to improve the weapon head, chest, feet, neck, and hands, and then also his ability to gain the additional critical rate by 23%, as well as boosting up all of his abilities damage output. However, I do not recommend to invest mastery books in him if you have better heroes such as like Natalia, Hitoshi, and Santis, because these three heroes, right, allows you to deal more damage to the enemies, and they are much more widely used in other parts of the game. Whereas for Timmons, right, he's mainly used in one specific niche area, which is the Ash Magisteria, and maybe he could just use for like the adventure speed farming, but the other hero will be able to do far more better job than him. So this is Timmons' Ascension. The first one improves his attack by 15%, second one will be 15% health, third will be speed. Once you get this attack additional 15 speed, you can replace the Raider set with a Warrior set for more attack. And then the fourth Ascension will be to improve his defense by 15%. And then fifth one will be to unlock the additional trait to improve his damage output against 5 affinity heroes by 30%. And the sixth Ascension basically improves his health, attack, and defense by 5%. Alright, so we have already went through Timmons' overall stats, abilities, gears, masteries, and Ascension. Let's check out how we can use Timmons in the battlefield. Alright, so we are now in the Ash Magisteria Helmo Stage 2. I'm not able to showcase Timmons in Helmo Stage 3 as well as Helmo Stage 4. It's because that this one requires your heroes to be built really well, especially with mastery books to improve their attack stats, critical damage stats, and so forth. Hence, I'll be showcasing Timmons in Helmo Stage 2. Once you are able to get a Timmons with the 5th Ascension as well as some mastery books in him, then he'll be able to help you speed farm Helmo Stage 3 as well as Helmo Stage 4, like how I'll be showing you for Helmo Stage 2. So this is the team formation that I'll be showcasing today. I have Timmons, the MVP hero here, to clear the 5 imps around the boss. And with him alone, he'll be able to wipe out the 5 imps, and then you can use single target damage dealers like Opal to deal damage to the boss. And then I have Joseph here to apply the attack up buff to improve my damage dealer's output damage, and then also defense up so that my heroes will receive less damage. And apart from that, he's also able to cleanse away the bomb that's applied by the boss. And finally, I have Jonathan here. He's able to apply attack down, defense down to all of the enemies with his AoE attack. And then he's also capable of applying Unhealable to prevent the boss from healing himself. And then he's also able to generate the shield whenever his allies receive AoE attack. And for the spells, I'll be using Sundering Purgatory to apply the defense down on the enemies and Geist Renewal for supplementary healing because there's no dedicated healer here. Alright, so let's see this team in action. Alright, so this is the battle. Joseph will go first to boost up everyone's attack up and defense up, followed by Jonathan applying the attack down and defense down. Then whenever there's enemies or allies attack the enemy, then Timmons will perform his AoE joint attack. That would be Opal to activate her joint attack. And this is the second wave. This one takes around about 2 AoE attack from Timmons to wipe out the wave on the mobs on the wave 2. So this one will be the same thing like the first wave. Joseph apply the attack up to boost up my damage dealer's output. Then followed by the joint attacks from Opal as well as Timmons here. But there are some cases where Timmons are not able to wipe out the enemies around the fire boss. It will depend on how much damage or attack stats and critical damage stats that you can build for Timmons there. The more stats you have, the better to make it easier for Timmons to wipe out the 5 imps around the boss. There are some cases where if there are like 2 enemies alive right around the boss, Timmons is not able to activate that AoE attack or his ultimate ability. Hopefully the developers will make some changes to the conditional, where if there is like 2 or more enemies alive, then he'll be able to apply that AoE attack. Otherwise, it's not really useful here unless you can build him really powerful to mitigate this issue. Alright, so that's basically the run for this team. It took around about 1 minute and 39 seconds. This run could be faster depending on how well you can build your heroes, especially with the Ascension as well with the mastery books invested on your heroes. So now I'm showcasing Timmons in the Helmut Stage 3, which is far more difficult compared to the Helmut Stage 1 and 2 because the 5 imps are now able to revive themselves whenever they receive a fatal hit from your heroes. So in order to show you how Timmons will work, I will now need to manual this run because my Timmons doesn't have mastery books, hence I need to reserve the Sunring Purgatory for the boss wave so that Timmons' AoE attack is able to do sufficient damage to wipe out the 5 imps around the boss. Once you're able to get him some mastery books as well as some Ascension, then you'll be able to wipe out the 5 imps around the boss easily on auto. So now we are on the boss wave. On auto, right, Shane will use that special ability to buff up the hero that deals the most damage, then followed by the AoE Karma as well as the attack down. This is the place where I apply the Sunring Purgatory so to allow Timmons to do sufficient amount of damage to wipe out all of the 5 imps. And then Sierra on the other hand will use up all of her the Rage Aura or the thing that she kept the souls from the enemies and then release it on the boss to deal massive amount of damage. So you need to defeat the boss before the bomb expires, otherwise right, this run will fail because the bomb will deal AoE true damage that wipes out all of the heroes on this team here. So on the second round where the boss summons the 5 imps, you need to defeat the boss in this round itself. So it's like a pretty fast run once you're able to build Timmons with really good gears and lots of mastery books and Ascension on him, especially for the 5th Ascension to gain the 30% additional damage from dealing damage on the enemies who are weak affinity. Alright, so let me show you another place where you can use Timmons, like speed farming the adventure. Alright, so now we are in the adventure mythic mode. You can use this team composition that I'll be showing you today on how to speed farm the adventure mode for the EXP jelly, the glyph and gold coins. So let me show you the team. So currently I have Joseph here. He's my buffer hero to apply AoE attack buff so that my damage dealer will be able to do more damage. And he's also capable of applying the AoE defense up. So my heroes will receive less damage in case the enemies are able to perform counter attack. And then we have Timmons here. He's my AoE damage dealer. And then we have Zachary. He's also able to perform AoE attack. And the best part about Zachary is he's also able to perform the Chaos Slaughter. So whenever he perform a kill or his ally perform a kill, he'll be able to perform an AoE joint attack as well. Something similar to how Sarah and Timmons work. And finally we have Hitoshi here. He's an epic hero that you can obtain through the Rookie Event Challenge when you first started to create your account. And the Rookie Event Challenge ends in 2 weeks time. So if you manage to get him, then you'll be able to help you to clear the water enemies easily. But I have speed tuned Hitoshi to go I think last, so you'll be able to see Zachary and Timmons how they synergize with each other to speed farm the adventure areas quickly to farm the EXP jelly, glyph as well as the gold coins. And then for the spells, I'll be using Sunring Purgatory to apply the AoE defense down so the enemies are easier to be defeated, and then Gaia's Renewal for supplementary healing because there's no dedicated healer here. So let's see this team in action. So I speed tuned my buffer to go first to apply the attack up buff, followed by Zachary to perform the AoE attack. And whenever there's 4 or more enemies alive, then Timmons will perform the joint attack here as well with his ultimate ability. And since my Timmons have the highest attack stats, then when Joseph performs the attack, the speed up buff will go to Timmons, so you'll be able to perform his ultimate ability there. So this is where Hitoshi comes in to wipe out the remaining water enemies here, because Timmons' AoE attack will be significantly reduced in damage. So this run took around about 35 seconds in order to speed farm this adventure mythic mode. So this is one of the team that you can use in case if you do not have any popular heroes such as like Natalia or Valeria. Those heroes are much more popular to be used in case if you have them. But if you do not have these heroes, you can use this as an alternative to speed farm this adventure mode. So let me show you how this team can perform in case if you're fighting against a more tougher enemy, such as like the King of Lasir in 10-8 of Mythic mode. So we are in the 10-8 Lasir. This is where many people find challenges in fighting against the Dark Necklace because he's able to apply multiple block damage or something, or unkillable, that prevents him from getting killed by the enemy attacks. So this is where Joseph comes in to apply the defense up so that my heroes will be able to survive slightly longer. Battlefield here. So this is where I think Dark Necklace is applying that shield. Yep, the shield to protect him. Those multiple attacks right easily break down his his unkillable buff here. As you notice, Timmons is able to apply the attack down so that the boss does not deal much damage whenever his health drops below a certain percentage there. So this team took around about 1 minute, which is quite good. 1 minute to defeat the boss with just only epic heroes and 1 elite hero to support them all. Alright, so that's the end of my video showcasing Timmons in those areas in the game that I find him useful. Basically the Ash Magisteria as well as the adventure speed farming. I do not find him good in other areas because of the limitation imposed on his trait where he needs at least 4 or more enemies alive and the target that the allied attack must be an elite or boss hero, which makes him viable only for PvE content such as like Endless Trial, Ash Magisteria, maybe some areas in Void Tower that has 4 or more enemies alive, and so forth. For other parts of the dungeon like Roaring Tulpa, Queen of Tides, Wish of the Wind, Gemini Dragon, those areas only has 3 enemies on the boss wave. So this means he's not really useful for those areas in like helping out the team to do more damage to these enemies. And do I recommend you to build him? I would recommend yes, if you do not have any strong AoE damage dealers like Natalia, Pluto, Hydricial, those water affinity heroes that you need to wipe out the fire enemies or the water enemies. However, I don't really recommend you to invest mastery books in him because there are much more better epic heroes such as like Natalia and Hitoshi, which you get more bang for your buck. Because for Timmons to shine right, he needs to have a lot of investment in order for him to deal more damage due to the damage reduction imposed on his ultimate ability each time he performs the attack. After extensively testing Timmons in several areas in the game, I find his damage output is severely lacking due to the damage reduction imposed on his ultimate ability. I would recommend the developers to rebuff him by removing that damage reduction so that he's able to deal sufficient damage to wipe out the fire imps around the boss, and then also modify the condition on his trait so that he'll be able to trigger his ultimate ability when there are maybe like 2 or more enemies alive rather than 4 or more enemies, which makes it which only makes him viable in only like 2 specific areas like Ash Magisteria and Lestral Void Tower, maybe some areas in the Void Tower, because once you have enemies below a certain threshold, like below 4 enemies, then he will not be able to make use of his trait. So it's much more better for the developers to modify the number of enemies he can perform his trait. Ideally it should be 2 or more enemies alive. Alright, if you found this video helpful, do give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, you can click on the subscribe button and also ring the notification bell to stay up to date whenever I upload a new video on this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!